Welcome to the CrossKnowledge podcast. Here we discuss the trends, opportunities, and challenges of corporate digital learning. Let's meet today's host.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CrossKnowledge podcast. My name is Renan, and I'm your today's host. The Human Advantage series is a series where we explore the pivotal role of humans in driving organizational success. The idea is to hold candid conversations with prominent business leaders and experts who have demonstrated a deep commitment in fostering a more human workplace. Today, we have a remarkable guest on our show. She's a certified leadership, performance, and resilience trainer and coach, having earned her credentials from the prestigious Brown University School of Professional Studies. She lives in the beautiful city of Vienna in Austria, and she brings a unique approach to personal growth and development that's all about clarity, direction, and unwavering support. Her personal mission is to help people lead their most authentic life, bridging the gap between where they are now and where they aspire to be. Our today's guest is Dr. Lydia Wazir, who brings a unique perspective on the role of mental health in leadership, which is our topic today in this podcast episode. Lydia, it is a pleasure to have you here today with us.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor for me. Thank you for the invitation.
Sure thing. Lydia, just to get started, and this is one of my favorite questions. If you had a magic wand and no budget constraints, what would you do to drive a more human workplace?
I would begin by removing the stigma on mental health at the workplace. But in a perfect world, we would not even have to do that. We would all be happy in the workplace. Everyone would love each other and work perfectly and collaborate on everything as they should. But unfortunately, due to change processes and transformations and resistance to change and different leadership styles, people are affected in different ways. So well-being at work has become crucial so as not to lose all the good people due to a deterioration of their well-being in the workplace. So what I would do is create a well-being program in workplaces, establish that the priority of people's well-being in organizational cultures. Perhaps change leadership styles to one that is more ethical, like ethical leadership, integrity, accountability, empathy, where well-being of your employees is a priority. I would then also roll out trainings, not just for the leaders, but also employees on how to take care of your team's well-being and your own well-being when you notice it is not what it should be in order for you to perform. What else? I would establish different places within the company, like structurally, where you can retreat, regain posture, control your emotions, and then go back and maybe go back into a meeting that really got you heated. Right, so that I would do that, both in a physical workplace and in emotional way.
Well, after you said that, it's a pity that the magic wand doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because that all sounds really, really great. And that's a great segue for us for our next question. Can you tell us about a moment in your career where you personally connected with the importance of mental health in leadership?
There are so many moments. I would have to generalize because it happened to me in several workplaces where the environment and the context we were working in really affected everyone on the team. And you can say that it became toxic. And when an atmosphere becomes toxic and negative, it's very hard to get back out of it. It's kind of a spiral. It kind of goes out of control unless you are aware of it and mindfully work against it. It is hard to do that as a team member, but as a leader, When you notice that your team's well-being is suffering and they are no longer performing as they can or should, then it is your responsibility and duty to take a step back, give the space to address the needs of your team in that moment, which are most likely emotional and psychological, and talk about it. And maybe even give them pauses and breaks, send them home, give them a day off, a well being day off, so that they can regain posture and composure. And I think it's important to have that conversation, even if it means interrupting a meeting and taking a break from daily activities. And have that meeting at a later time when you wanted to discuss project deadlines again. But a person cannot focus on tasks if they are not mentally there, not focused on that.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you touched on the role of the leader in promoting mental health within the team. And can you just briefly explain why mental health is more and more crucial in leadership, especially in the context of organizational changes?
It's the responsibility of the leader at the leaders at different levels. So you've got the executive leadership level that perhaps has an idea and wants change and transformation to happen, and then needs the other levels to carry it out. But if it happens, this change transformation happens without the involvement of everyone, the employees at different levels, if it happens in a top down authoritarian way, if it happens in a way of coercion and control, either you do this or else, then that affects the well being and mental health of everyone. So a control culture not only affects mental health, but it also affects the feeling of security and safety. And the things that I'm mentioning here are, by the way, actually human rights. It is your human right to feel safe and secure and to have self determination. So I'm using a little bit of political science here.
Yeah, yeah.
Freedom of expression, and to have the feeling that you can in some way control your circumstances and what happens to you. And when that is not the case, then it is the responsibility of the leader to ensure that it is. Otherwise, your people will suffer. And who wants a people who is suffering? Can they work in a productive way? No, they can't. They won't want to.
Yeah, and the consequences of the not being mentally healthy is that, for example, if you work in, let's say, in production lines, for example, and if the employee is not feeling well, is not mentally healthy, so accidents can happen. So the consequences are are very serious, actually, of not being mentally healthy in certain, pretty much like in all contexts. Um,
That's a
okay,
great
so
point.
yeah,
Actually, thank you for mentioning that because we often overlook blue collar workers who
exactly.
have a very, very difficult physical context in which they have to work. And if they're not focused, things can happen. People can die.
You're right. Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned that. So you started like with executive leadership, and then you just like scaled that down to pretty much the blue collar, in pretty much like in all the hierarchy of the company. Uh, But okay, so can you share any helpful strategies that you have seen or used to support mental health in teams during times of change?
Yeah, I personally rolled out a well-being channel, which focuses on daily or weekly tips on how to address different mental health issues at work, different performance issues, personal resilience, team resilience, um, leadership skills that enforce and support well-being of your employees and team members. Um, what Some other things that you can do are short mini trainings on well-being that focus on resilience and positive leadership, and also just physical exercises that you can do, like breathing techniques, mindfulness techniques, where you can regulate your emotions and anxiety yourself.
Yeah.
What that gives you the feeling that you are in control again. I know how to deal with the situation because I've taught myself how to regulate my emotions. That's key, because emotional intelligence is actually the answer to many issues. Not all issues, but many
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, yeah. It would be great, like if we had like more and more of these sort of programs like in place across the companies worldwide. Well, Lydia, I understand you are a certified leadership, performance, and resilience trainer. Can you tell us more about it and how our audience can get involved or benefit from it?
As a leadership and performance coach, I focus on the person as a whole. So you are your authentic self if you're able to be yourself, not just privately, but also professionally. You can't just change who you are just because you've changed settings. Sure, there are different ways of behaving, but if you have to force yourself to be someone different or follow different values in different settings, that can become schizophrenic and not sustainable. So, the first thing that we work on is your values. Your value system determines also your direction, your career path, what makes you happy, what are you good at, your purpose. So I very much also am a proponent of finding your life purpose statement, not just career purpose statement, because they are often intertwined. Your career should follow what your life purpose is for you. And for that to happen, you need a vision. And all of these things I'm mentioning are also leadership practices for teams. So, in a team, you need a team vision and mission statement, you need culture in the team, you need a way of communicating, you need a purpose. So, these two things go together. There are tools and techniques that I can teach you in order to find that out. It's not like everyone walks around knowing their purpose. And that might change over time as well, depending on your life situation.
Yeah, and also it requires a lot of courage as well because it is an adventure to finding your own purpose. It is really because actually you really have to deal with all also like your dark side, but also like your bright side. So sometimes you just need to lean into the discomfort of the situations. You really find that purpose that we all aspire to have.
That's such a great point. Courage. I mean, it takes a
Yeah.
lot of courage once you do know your values and purpose, and you notice that you're in a situation where it is not aligned, to then stand up and say, I'm not going to stay in this situation and need to leave for my own mental health and in order to be able to fulfill my purpose and follow my values. It does take a lot of courage. I understand that there are a lot of people who are in situations where you can't do that, which is where self efficacy and resilience comes in, where you learn techniques to be able to deal with different situations that you cannot change.
Yeah, that's a great point. Lydia, we're heading to the final question of this, or into the end of this podcast. And my last question to you is, what would your advice be for L&D leaders in their first 90 days in their role?
Talk to people. Before you make any decisions or roll out any programs, take the time to communicate, talk to people across the board, from leaders to employees to staff, everyone, to understand their needs, to understand the organizational needs and the people's needs. So often, when a decision is made, it is made without really taking into consideration the different factors that would affect the decision on everyone else. So before you act, listen to understand.
Lydia, it was great having you here. And thank you for all of your thoughts on mental health and the role of mental health in leadership. And it was really a pleasure to have you.
It was a pleasure for me too. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you again for the next episode of the CrossKnowledge podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and colleagues.